I knew this would happen. Now everybody's mad at me. Now Luna's mad at me, and you're all mad at me because I didn't text her, but I don't have a phone. Here comes Luna right now. I don't know. Maybe you can watch her. We'll watch her come. Here she comes. Here she comes. Here comes that Luna. She is walking. She's not in a hurry, huh? She's just taking her time. Luna, oi! You're on the internet. Look how mad she is. Look at her how mad she is. No, don't hit me. All right, where did our plan go wrong? What did we do wrong? Have a seat. Let's talk. Here we are. Everything's fine. We're all fine. So, where did the plan go wrong? Because I thought we were going to meet at the park. And
what?
You must have... Okay. I'm assuming you didn't hear me. That's okay.
I have to wait for these drinks.
Yeah.
And then you told me that you will go scout.
Okay. Okay. This is my fault.
And then I thought that you would come back and at least tell me where are you.
I understand.
And then lucky that I was smart enough to check the live stream. So well,
I knew you'd be smart enough. That's why I just went ahead with the show. So here's where the plan went wrong. I thought I communicated clearly that I was going to go set up and that you would bring the drinks to me. And apparently I didn't do that. So I take responsibility. I accept the blame and the fault.
Lucky that I've been waiting for maybe 20 minutes and then something must be wrong. And then, okay, just check the live stream because it's.
No, I knew. So that's the thing. That's the great thing about having such a psychic connection with your comrade.
Mm-hmm.
I knew you would check the live stream and you would find us. So, all's well that ends well. We're still comrades, right? Okay, here's a question. Is it okay to nationalize some things? I would say that within the framework of capitalism or state communism, then yeah, I'm all about nationalize. Like in the United States of America, in the government we have now, nationalize everything. It's better than privatization. Conservatives are really good at like intentionally ruining and obstructing nationalized things in the United States of America. So in Vietnam, like lots of stuff is nationalized, including most of the internet and mobile phone companies.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In the United States, it's always like a big fight, and you generally the nationalization argument loses. Right.
Yeah.
Now, I'm an anarchist, Luna, as you know. And so I would prefer there to be no state whatsoever, and for everything to be directly owned by the people. But if the choice is between a corporation owning it and the government owning it, I'd rather have the government own it because it's better than corporations owning it, in my opinion. Let me ask you about Vietnam. The nationalized services here, are they pretty good?
Yes.
Like, tell us about it.
All the national-owned service are kind of good, like the chain. The price is really low because they have the price control for everything that's state-owned.
Yeah.
And then the electricity, the water also.
The price controls, I think, are important.
Yeah.
I think the price controls are a very important part of it in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And they help a lot because that's why people can be pretty poor by our like United States of American standards, but they're still able to afford things like the internet, like they can have electricity and running water and transportation.
Yeah,
and
you don't need to own a car or a motorbike here because there's public transportation.
You can take a bus
and
anywhere.
And the buses also owned by the state. And then to us, to a Vietnamese people, to a Vietnamese person, any service that's state-owned means that it's cheap.
Yeah, right.
Everybody can afford it.
So the price controls are an important part of that. Because like, for instance, in the United States, Luna, we have a public train. It's kind of like a I don't know if it's subsidized. It's complicated. There's a company called Amtrak, and it's essentially nationalized. But it's really expensive to the point where it's usually the same price to fly somewhere as it is to take a train. Okay, are they still mad at me? They were real mad at me earlier.
Really?
They all took your side.
Oh my God, that's so sweet, comrade. Surely I was meant to.
Somebody asked about intersectionality, and I'm very much in favor of intersectionality. And Luna, do you know what intersectionality is?
No.
Okay, the opposite of intersectionality when it comes to leftism, to simplify things, is called class reductionism. And class reductionism is the idea that the only thing that matters is class. And we don't need to worry so much about racism or sexism or transphobia or any other kinds of bigotry. We only need to worry about class. And if all we worry about class, because the idea of class reductionism is all other kinds of bigotry come from class. So the reason we have racism or sexism is because of capitalism, which I don't buy that personally. I think that racism and sexism and capitalism and all these forms of oppression are interlocked and support each other and reinforce each other. But I don't think we can only focus on class and ignore racism and sexism and all these other forms of oppression. Intersectionality actually comes from feminism originally. It was originally a feminist idea. So the original idea was like, you can't just have women's liberation, you have to also have, fight racism and all other forms of oppression. So, but it's kind of bled over to where now it's become a topic of discussion between. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
I agree with you. I don't buy that. I don't feel that it's gonna solve the other problem. It's just ignore them,
Yeah. Vietnam is socialist.
Yes.
And theoretically owned by the working class, at least in theory.
Yeah.
But you still have problems with sexism, right?
Yes, we still. It's kind of pressure for a woman.
Yeah. And the Soviet Union had issues with homophobia, racism. There was anti-Semitism in the Soviet Union. So I don't think that you could just eliminate capitalism and then all those other forms of oppression just disappear. And in fact, I think it exacerbates the risk of capitalism coming back.
Yes.
A lot.
Yes.
So I think we need to fight it all together. That's my personal opinion.
I'll always be angry when I think about the way you were born. That's the way you were born, and nobody can choose that. And maybe you think that you're lucky when you were born like a white man, like this man, and it's just because you're lucky. You use that nonsense thing to claim that you're higher.
Yeah.
You're better position than the other person. That's
I did. I used to.
That's bullshit.
I used to do that when I was younger.
There's nothing with your talent or your knowledge or your characteristic. It's just the way you were born like that, and you're just damn lucky, and that's it. And you use that, like you use that nonsense things to think that you're better than the other. Like,
I like to use the word weaponize. You weaponize your color or your gender or whatever against other people. And I don't think it's always conscious. I don't think people do it intentionally always. You know what I mean? I want to talk about the video we just released about stochastic. We're not going to say the T word, okay? But stochastic, we'll say violence.
Stochastic T is okay.
So stochastic T sounds like a really bad rapper. I mean, we had a lot of obviously shitty reactionary comments, obviously, of course. But so many of the comments were like, oh, you just want censorship and blah, blah, blah. You're trying to kill our free speech or whatever. And I want to make it clear, I don't think censorship can solve this problem, especially not state and corporate censorship. I'm an anarchist. I think that when the state or when the corporations censor things, it's generally speaking almost always going to come down in a way that harms the working class, harms marginalized people, harms vulnerable people. And I don't think that we can rely on or trust the state to solve this problem with censorship. And I don't think censorship, I think it could backfire and make the problem worse, right? Personally, that's my personal opinion. I think that the solution to this problem is for us to change our culture, to educate people, to show people that we're not going to accept this kind of hate speech and behavior and direct action, dual power structures, organization, fight back against it culturally as a united front. So I'm not advocating for censorship. Brother Malcolm asked, should YouTube delete PewDiePie's channel?
It based on his attitude in the future. You understand what I mean? If he kind of tried to change or something like that, maybe we should keep it. But what I want to express here is that it depends on his attitude from now on. Yeah, about how he changed and would he change and how he changed it.
For me, it's a tricky question too, because to me, the real problem, in my opinion, is that YouTube is owned by a corporation. It's a for-profit entity.
Yeah.
Same as Twitter, same as Facebook. They're only going to ever do what's in the interest of their profits.
Yes, exactly.
And as long as that's the case, and as long as we're using these platforms as a society, that's always going to be a problem, right? The real solution, I think, one real solution is abandoning these platforms for federated platforms. Like there's a system called PeerTube, right? And it's a federated system. So it's not owned by a corporation. There are lots of different instances is what they're called. They're all owned by different groups. And then we as the users have much more direct control over how we use it. So that's one aspect of it, right? Mm-hmm. Now that's a long-term goal. It's going to take a long time to get people to switch to that. Yes. You know what I mean? Luna, is American your friend or husband?
None of them.
Wow. That was the most like passive-aggressive way to answer that question.
You're my comrade.
We're comrades. I keep hearing leftists refer to reactionaries. What exactly does that mean? Ooh, that's a good question. The whole idea is that reactionaries react to social change. They want to keep things the way they are. And if something new comes out, then their response is to react to it. That's basically where that idea comes from. React negatively, generally speaking. A
reactionary is someone who is against progress.
Yeah, right. So social progress comes along, and then they react against it negatively. So we call them reactionaries. I love you and Luna. You're making a difference. I used to be right-wing, then a liberal. Workers of the world, unite!
Unite!
I can say all of those things. I love Luna. I used to be a right-winger. I used to be a liberal. And workers of the world, unite. I agree. Thank you so much for the super chat. That's a wonderful message.
Right behind me is the orange flowers, and down there is the beautiful blue flowers. Above there is white and purple.
In the Vietnamese kind of like spiritual faith or religion or whatever you want to call it, it's not really a religion, but the spiritual beliefs, there's the idea of reincarnation and that you used to be an animal maybe in your past life, right?
Yeah. You have a many previous life.
I think Luna used to be a honeybee in her very last life. I do. Because Luna is like fascinated with flowers. We'll be walking down the street and having like an intense conversation, and she'll stop suddenly and go, ah! And I think there's like something horrible just happened. It happens while we were riding our motorbike sometimes. And she'll be like, oh my God. And I'm like, what happened? Are we crashing? What's going on? And she'll be like, flower.
Beautiful flowers over there.
I'm like, Luna, you can't do that while I'm driving a motorcycle. I tend to call fascists Nazis because they know what a Nazi is, but usually not how that relates to fascism. I can't stand the whole splitting hairs about fascists versus Nazis. It feels like it's like somehow being respectful to them. First of all, I like to call them Nazis even more if it annoys them. I'm not going to bother myself with like annoying a Nazi. Good. If you're a Nazi and you're annoyed when I call you a Nazi, good. I'm glad. In my opinion, and the way I use it, it's an insult. It's a slur against fascists.
The song of the name "Killing All the Fascists" almost become our national anthem. I'm telling you the truth. It's a long time we've been poor and under the empire. We've been many of us become the prisoners. Now it's a time for us to rise up. And it's time for us to take the revenge. Kill all the fascists. Kill those coward dogs. Come on, our socialism. Bring your sword and rise up under our flags. Quick, be together. There's no age between us. Both the young and the old can be together. Vietnam.
Wow. That's a hardcore song, Luna.
Yes.
Thank you for watching, everybody. Thank you for we had a lot of generous super chats today.
Yes.
And what else can I say?
I love you all.
So why don't you sing the national anthem for Vietnam?
Oh, this is the real Vietnamese.
Maybe that's a more positive way for us to lead out here.
Đoàn quân Việt Nam đi, chung lòng cứu quốc, bước chân dồn vang trên đường gặp cảnh xa. Cờ in màu chiến thắng mang hồn nước, Sông hoài xa trên khúc quân hành ca, đường vinh quang xây xa quân thù, thắng gian lao cùng nhau lập chiến khu. Vì nhân dân chiến đấu không ngừng, tiến mau ra xa trường, tiến lên, cùng tiến lên, nước non Việt Nam ta vững bền. Good night everybody, I love you all.
Not all of you.